Okay, year 11. We're just going, get back here. We're going to look at the next exercise, which is all about the discriminant. So we talked about this in the previous YouTube, and we're going to look mainly at the quadratic equation. Well, only at the quadratic equation. Now, when we have a quadratic equation, we're finding the roots, the x-intercept of a quadratic equation. Now, as we said before, there are always two. Now, even though the book's going to say that there are always two. Let's have a look at the different types. And we'll look at the positive and the negative, but we'll start with the positive. So you can have a quadratic equation which has two real roots, there and there. You can have a quadratic equation that just touches at one spot. Now, even though they're going to say that's one root or a single root, it's a double root, and I'll explain that a little bit later. Or you might have a quadratic equation that doesn't cut it. It still has roots, they're just unreal. So this one has two real roots. This is a double root. And this has two unreal or imaginary roots. So you don't have to worry about finding them, you just have to understand that there are always two. This will always be x minus something all squared, which is what we did when we did our elective class and we looked at the quadratic equation and moving it. Parabolas. So how does the quadratic equation tell us this? Well, let's just look at the quadratic equation. So x, which is the solution to any quadratic formula, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. This is what's going to determine how many we get. So we call that the discriminant. The discriminant discriminates between the number of roots. It tells us, whether there's one, two, a double, two, or two unreal. And we don't want to write discriminant every time, so we abbreviate it with the little triangle. Now, if the discriminant, if b squared minus 4ac is a positive number, well, you get two real roots. Because you're going to get minus b on 2a plus or minus a real number. It could be a surd, but it doesn't matter. If the discriminant equals 0, which means this just equals 0, just means you get minus b on 2a. You get the double root. And if the discriminant is less than 0, a negative number, well, you can't find the square root of a negative number. That's when you get your two unreal or imaginary roots. Let's see what they said about it. All right, so they say no real roots. Okay, two real roots. However, these are equal. Well, they call them equal. Double, that's okay. So there's the discriminant. So here they are. They talk about it here. Rational, righto. There they are. And she gives you a little bit of summary here. We didn't do the negatives, but you can have negative and positive parabolas with real or unreal roots. So let's have a go. Have a go at some of these questions. It's really easy. You are just using the discriminant. And remember, the discriminant is what's under the square root sign, which is b squared minus 4ac. So, for example, find the discriminant of these. So, in 1a, the discriminant equals b squared, so negative 4, put it in parentheses, minus 4 times 1 times negative 1. Look over at it and remember A, B, C. Okay, you put that in your calculator and use parentheses. So negative 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 1, 20. I'm just going to get the solutions up so that we make sure we're getting these right. Please use your calculator when you're doing these, because we don't want to have the situation like in our assessment task where some people, and what else exercise we're doing? 411, where some people didn't put that negative in parentheses and got it wrong. So 411, come on, 411, yep, 20. 20 is the first one. I'm not going to do any more of those. It's just putting them in your calculator. Let's have a look at number 2. Find the discriminant. State whether the roots of the quadratic equation are real, not real, equal, unequal, rational, or irrational. Okay. So 2a. We're just going to find the discriminant. So it's negative 1 squared minus 4 times 1 times 4. So that's going to be, calculator, come on, go back. What have we got? Negative 1, 4 times 1 times negative 4, was it? 17. Was it negative 4? It was negative 4. I didn't write the negative in my... Okay. Now, what's this rational and equal? And if the discriminant equals 0, well, you've got a double root, so the roots are equal. There are 2 of them. If the discriminant is a square number, if the discriminant is a square number, well, that means that the surt's going to disappear, which means it's a rational number. If the discriminant is a square number, what are our square numbers again? You've got to know them. 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144. What is that? 225? I've gone too far there. What's that? 12, 13 squared, 169, 169. 14 squared, I don't know. I know 15 squared is 225. What's 14 squared? 14 squared, 196. Now, root 17, it's not a square number. Now, if it's not a square number, well, then the surt's going to stay, which means it will be irrational. And if it is a square number, well, it's rational. So this is irrational. It's 17. It's not a square number. And what's this other thing? Are they equal or unequal? Well, they're unequal because it's got to be equal to 0, so unequal. So if it's a double root, you get equal roots. All right, so that's the terminology they're dealing with. We'll do another one, and we'll do D because I know D is going to be equal roots. So D, the discriminant equals B squared, 6 squared, minus 4 times 1 times 9. 6 squared is 36, 4 nines are 36. Oh, it's 0, which means we have a double root, and it's real, they're equal, and it'll be rational. Because 0 is a square number as well. 0 squared is 0. So the roots are real, they're equal, and they're rational. I'll let you work your way through those. I do want to have a go at b squared minus 4ac. 6 and 7. 6 and 7. B squared. Oh no, I want 4, 6 and 7. And then we'll see how you go. So in question 4, and I'll ask this sort of question all the time, x squared plus kx plus 1. I want to find the values for k, which will give that equals 0, equal roots. Well, if they've got equal roots, the discriminant has got to equal 0. Well, what's the discriminant? So for equal roots, discriminant's got to equal 0. The discriminant is b squared. Well, that's our a, that's our b, that's our c. K squared minus 4 times 1 times 1 equals 0. Oh, k squared minus 4 equals 0. That means k squared equals 4. That means k equals plus or minus, because you get two answers, the square root of 4, which means k can equal plus or minus 2. So the values for k that will make that have equal roots are plus or minus 2. If I go 5, I'll do 4, 5, 6, and 7. You have a go first. So if I go 5, find the values for b, for which it has real roots. What do we got? 2x squared plus x plus b plus 1 equals 0. So that's my a, that's my b, there's a 1 in front of there, and my c is all of that, and you should put it in parentheses. Your c is the b plus 1. And what are we finding in 5? Has real roots. So for real roots, the discriminant is greater than or equal to 0. Because if it equals 0, you get real roots. You get a double one. But if it's greater than 0, you get 2 real roots as well. So what's my discriminant? B squared, 1 squared, minus 4 times a, 2, times c. Put it in parentheses. And that's got to be greater than or equal to 0. 1 minus 8 outside of b plus 1. It's got to be greater than or equal to 0. 1 minus, multiply these out, minus 8b minus 8 is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, minus 8 b minus 7, because remember 1 minus 8 is negative 7, greater or equal to 0. Take the 7 over, minus 8b greater or equal to 7. Divide by the negative 8. Please remember that when you divide by a negative with an inequality, you change the direction. So that's going to be b, and this changes direction. 7 on 8 negative. So b must be less than or equal to negative 7/8 for this equation to have real roots. So question 6, you're going to do the same thing, except for no real roots, it's got to be less than or equal to 0. Less than or equal to 0. I'm not equal to, just less than. I'll do 6 and I'll let you go with the rest. So 6, what do we got? Px squared plus 4x plus 2. Px squared plus 4x plus 2 equals 0. Well, for unreal roots, P, the discriminant, is less than 0. Okay, so therefore, b squared, and what am I, a, b and c? A, b, c. So 4 squared minus 4 times p times 2 has got to be less than 0. 16 minus 8p less than 0. I'm going to take that 8p over the other side, 16 less than 8p. Don't have to change the inequality because we just added 8p, and divide by the 8. 2, p is greater than 2. Write it the other way around if you want. Now, if you subtracted the 16 and then divided by the negative 8, you still would have arrived at the same answer. But you would have had to remember to change the inequality sign when you divided by negative 8. All right, some of those are going to be hard. I'm going to wait for the questions to come in before I do any more. You have a go at them. Good luck.